How about you? I'm Hank. Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to answer 10 of the most common questions that I see get asked on the computer, Facebook groups, forums, things like that. Let's jump right into it with number one. Number one is, why won't my three-point lift arms go down? Now, that's a very common question that we see get asked. And so it's a very easy solution. And you see a lot of guys that ask this that are brand new to tractors. And so the reason they ask it is because they just don't know. There is no such thing as a dumb question. And so when people ask these questions in Facebook groups, you get a lot of guys that be like, read your owner's manual. And that's an excellent answer. To be honest with you, people like, hey, the guy's just asking a question. Just leave him alone. Just answer his question and let him go. But to be honest with you, read your owner's manual because that's going to answer a lot of these questions for you. But why won't my three-point lift arms go down? Well, what happens is underneath your seat, you've got a knob, and that knob adjusts the pressure on your three-point lift arms for going down. And what that is designed to do is so that they don't leak down during transport. That's kind of the basic idea behind the design. So you turn that knob underneath your seat, and that will allow the hydraulic fluid to go through the plumbing to make your three-point lift arms go down. Your three-point lift system is not broke. It's simply the fact that you don't have a knob in there adjusted correctly, or the knob underneath your seat adjusted correctly. So once you adjust that knob correctly, boom, your three-point lifts are going to go down. Let's talk about question number two. Question number two is, can I use non-OEM filters and lubricants in my machine? Will that void my warranty and things like that? There is a law out there called the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, and that law says that you can use non-OEM parts to make changes into your vehicle or your piece of equipment or whatever. And so but you'll see a lot of people go back and forth and say, oh, that doesn't apply to tractors, it only applies to vehicles. I'm not sure about that. Here's what I know. I use OEM filters until my warranty is up, and then once the warranty is up, then I use non-OEM, or I continue to use OEM filters. It's not that if I can get them readily available, if they're readily available and I can get them quickly, I don't have a problem using OEM. I don't have a problem using non-OEM. What you have to do is you have to be cognizant of the rating or the specifications that is on that filter or that lubricant that you're using, and does it meet or exceed the minimum requirements set forth by the manufacturer. That's the important part. So if you're going to do your 50-hour service and you're going to change your oil filter and your hydraulic filter and your fluids, make sure that you use whatever the manufacturer's specifications are, as long as it meets or exceeds that, and then keep all your receipts, and that's going to make sure that you're still covered under warranty should something happen. Let's say your engine goes bad and they said, well, you used bad oil in it. Well, no, I didn't, because the oil I used was meets or exceeded your specifications, because certain companies don't make their brand of engine oil, right? So you have to buy the Traveler's Premium, the Shell Rotella, that kind of stuff to put into your tractor, because you can't buy manufacturer oil because they don't make it. And so same thing goes for filters. Use OEM filters when you can, but according to the Magnuson-Moss Act, you can use non-OEM filters. Do your homework on that stuff. Don't take it from a YouTuber. Do your homework. I'm telling you how I interpret the law. I'm not a lawyer. All right, let's talk about question number three right quick. The third question that you get a lot, or you see a lot in these groups and forums, is, hey, I've got this regen light that has come on. What's the process? How do I go about doing this? What happens is you got a sticker. Most tractors come with a sticker that tells you the regen process. It takes about 15 to 30 minutes. You're going to run your RPMs up high, hit your button, the light will blink. But the process is, on this particular TYM T574, the process is on a sticker. And most tractors that I've seen that has the regen process, that sticker is on the machine itself. It's also very well written out in their owner's manual. So just follow the steps that's on that sticker and you'll have no problems getting the regen process done. So when your DPF lamp comes on, which is this icon right here, when it beeps, all you got to do is park it outside stop all the functions, set your parking brake, the engine speed, run it to max RPMs, and press this regen button. And on my dash, it's this button right here, and that's the icon that you match. You press that button, and you must remain with the vehicle. DPF plus EGT on button is blinking. Then once it's complete, the lamp turns off. That's the simple process right there. This light comes on, you'll see this icon, and then you'll hit this button, boom, you're done. It takes about 15 to 30 minutes. I have yet to do it. My tractor has 200, I think it's got 260 hours on it. Let's see. 260 hours on it, and I've yet to experience a regen. Now, if you keep your RPMs high as you're traveling, you know, if you're doing like the bush hogging or something like that, well, it'll go through the regen process and you'll never know it. So that's about the regen process. Let's talk about the fourth question that I see a lot of times on these forums and Facebook groups. The fourth question is, can I pressure wash my tractor? The answer is yes, you can. When you go through, especially, and some people say, oh man, you know, why you're washing your tractor, it's supposed to be used to work and all that good stuff. Yeah, you should. I mean, you don't have to wash it every time you use it. But man, I'm telling you, if I get out there in the mud and all that stuff, I'm washing my tractor. One, it makes it easier to check to make sure no bolts have worked their way loose. It makes it easier, like if I'm going to go check the fluid levels, I don't have dirt and stuff caked around the openings where dipsticks go. I can keep it wiped off with a paper towel around the grease zerks. So, you know, I'm a big fan of keeping your tractor halfway clean. I'm not saying you have to wash and wax it all the time, but you do need to wash it often, you know, 3 or 4 times a year, just to keep it, you know, and functional, especially like if you have to take it to a shop, maybe they're going to charge you to pressure wash it because it's it's a lot. You know, you got to get rid of all the dirt to get to the problem. So keep your tractor clean. There's no problem pressure washing it. I will say this though, if you're going to pressure wash it, try not to aim directly at like any electrical components and things like that. So if you look on this T574, you know, I'm able to spray. I spray all this right here, but see the wires here? I'm not going to dwell on that, and I'm not going to try to hit that with my pressure washer for too awfully long. Now, if I just go by it, it's not that big of a deal. But here's some more wiring down here. I'm going to try not to keep the big pressure of the water on these electrical connections, but I will hit it with a pressure washer. So I don't, you know, you're not going to have any problems with all this other stuff. It's just these little electrical connections, you know, a couple times throughout. Let's see if there's any on the other side. Yeah, you know, this right here, I'm not going to spend a lot of time with the pressure washer on the electrical connections because I don't, you know, I don't think it'll hurt it, but pressure and water around electrical probably is not a good thing. So yeah, go ahead and pressure wash your tractor. Not going to hurt anything. Let's go on to the next question. Should I get a third function now, or should I add it later when I think I'm going to need my grapple or whatever the implement may be in the front of your tractor that you're going to need the hydraulics for? The answer is get the third function plumbed into your system from the dealer the day you buy your tractor. Don't bring your tractor home without a third function on it because it's costing you, it's never cheaper to do it afterwards. People are like, yeah, I only did mine for $500. Whatever. Okay, congratulations. You saved $150, and you had to do it. Let the dealer do it. Let them hook everything up. They got experience doing it. They've got the kit. They got the proper hardware. They've got the time. They got the shop. They got the tools. Let them do that. So if you're debating on whether or not you're going to get a third function, get it now when you buy your tractor. I'm telling you, it's going to save you a lot of headache. Moving on, let's talk about the 6th most common question that I've seen on Facebook groups and computers. And forums and groups and things, and that is, how do I check my hydraulic fluid? If you have a sight glass or a dipstick, I am not a fan of sight glasses at all. I'm a fan of the dipstick. I think that's the way you need to go if you have that option in the tractor that you're buying. With that being said, how do you check it? You need to check it with the engine off and the implements down. That's how you check it, and that's going to tell you your appropriate level. You also need to check it with the temperature about 45 degrees Celsius, somewhere around in there. So crank up if you walk out in the middle of the day or whatever, your tractor's been sitting there, crank it up, let it run for about a minute, and then cut it off. Don't check it while it's running. Don't check the hydraulic oil with the engine running. Check it with the engine off and warmish, and with the implements down, and that's going to give you. I actually buy a John Deere hydraulic dye that I put in mine, and that helps me see the fluid on the dipstick. And then if you have a sight glass, it will help you see it in the sight glass a little better as well. And so check it. You can buy, I think I got it at like greentractor.com or tractorparts.com. I can't remember exactly where I bought it from, but it's like 12 bucks, and that would turn your hydraulic fluid a little purplish, and you can see it a little easier on the dipstick. But that's how you check your hydraulic fluid. You check it with the engine off, the implements down, and then you're good to go. Here's another favorite question of mine that I get asked, or people get asked all the time. Hey, what's this symbol mean? You know, and you've got, and most of the time, there's, what I've seen is three. There's three major symbols that people don't recognize. Number one, water and fuel. Number two, DPF, regen. And number three is temperature. So once you figure out the engine temperature, I'm talking about. So the owner's manual, again, people put in the comments, they put, hey, read your owner's manual. It's got it in there. It does. The owner's manual, man, if you bought a new tractor, you have an owner's manual. If you bought a new tractor and you did not get an owner's manual, go back to the dealer and get the owner's manual, because you're entitled to that. And so what you got to do is you got to look at that. And the three most common ones that I've seen that people post in these Facebook groups and on computers is the water and fuel, the regen, and the engine temperature. So know what those symbols mean and know what to do. If you get water and fuel, what does that mean? You got to fix your water fuel separator. It's got a drain plug on the bottom of it. The DPF light, or the regen light, we go through that process that we talked about earlier. The temperature light, clean out your air cleaner, clean out your radiator, your screen on the front of your coolers and things. Those are all, that should get rid of most of those lights. All right. Your check engine light's kind of common. A lot of you know, it looks very similar to the ones that are in automobiles. So check engine lights, you don't see that a lot in tractor groups, but the first three that I mentioned, you definitely see those some. So pay attention to that, get into your owner's manual, and that will help answer some of those questions. Almost making it toward the end of the list, aren't we? So we got just a couple more. And one question that's left on the list is, what tire should I get? You got R1s, R4s, and R14s. Ag tires, industrial tires are kind of a hybrid between the two. Man, I'm telling you, it just depends. If you are not going to be driving over a yard and all you're doing is like woods work and field work, go with the ag tire. But ag tires are so aggressive, and if you do anything around lawns or yards, you're just going to tear them up, man. So just you know, that's why the industrial tire is so popular, is because that it has that pulling, you know, some of the characteristics of the ag tire that helps you pull, get out of mud, get unstuck. Not as good as ag tires, but they're not as aggressive on, you know, well made, just like your front yard or your backyard of your home. And so if you don't want to go messing up, or you don't want to go if you don't want to make mama mad, go with an industrial tire. They do make a turf tire, but you know, that's for the small compact subcompact tractors that are going to use like mid-mount mowers that literally all they're going to do is be riding over yards and things like that. They're very non-aggressive. So a turf tire is not a good option for a big tractor for the majority of what people are going to be doing. Specific applications, of course, but not so much for an everyday guy like me and you. Two quick ones back to back. I've got X amount of acres. What size tractor should I get? And should I get a backhoe with it? Those two questions usually go hand in hand with each other, right? And it depends. It literally just depends. Obviously, the smaller acreage you have, the smaller tractor you can get away with horsepower wise, but it depends on what you're doing. What if it's 5 acres of all woods and you're going to cut the woods down and grapple them out of there and all that stuff? You're going to need a big heavy tractor that can lift 2,000 pounds. You get a bigger tractor. Who cares that you got 5 acres? It really is task dependent. So that's a hard question to answer. You can't do it. And should I get a backhoe with it? Again, it depends. What do you plan on doing with the backhoe? I have a backhoe. I use my backhoe. I don't use my backhoe very often. So I don't know if I would recommend getting a backhoe, or if you're going to do 3 or 4 projects a year that requires a backhoe, just rent an excavator or a mini excavator. Because these backhoes, they're good and they can dig some stuff. But I'm telling you, you can dig a stump out with a mini excavator or a backhoe, like a backhoe, like a 310 or a 410 or something like that, triple nickel, something like that. But, you know, you can dig a stump out with these. It takes you 2 hours. You can dig a stump out with a that same stump will take you 30 minutes in a, you know, a mini excavator or a backhoe. So, yeah, I mean, they're nice to have, but should you get one? I don't know. It depends on how much work you're doing, you know. What's a backhoe, around $5,000 to $7,000, something like that? Maybe upwards to $9,000. That's a lot of rental equipment you can get. You know what I mean? And you can do a lot more work with a mini excavator. So, backhoe is personal preference at that point. You know what I mean? So let's talk about one more question, and then we got some honorable mentions as well. So let's talk about the honorable mentions too. And the next question I see all the time: what's the difference between on-road and off-road diesel? There's no difference. There is a difference. The only difference is they put red dye in off-road diesel so that you don't have to pay taxes on it. Basically, it's a way for when a law enforcement officer pulls over a trucker or a vehicle that's running diesel, they can poke a rod down there, pull it out, and check the color of the diesel. And if that diesel is red, that means you did not pay taxes on it. Now, if you're going to use it for farm use, you're going to put it in tractors, you're going to put it in generators, that's fine. There's no problem with that, because you're not paying road taxes at that point. But if you're driving a 18-wheeler or a pickup truck that requires diesel, and you're traveling public roads with it, then the government wants their cut of it. And so when they check you, you've got to have on-road diesel. It's just their way of seeing if you're paying taxes and road taxes and fuel charges for that particular fuel. So yeah, go ahead and run that off-road diesel in your tractors, no problem whatsoever. 2 honorable mentions, right? Honorable mention number 1, is this a good price for this tractor? Yeah, it depends. Is it a good price for you? Hey, I saw a tractor on Marketplace. He wants $20,000 for it. It's a 1999 55 horsepower Coyote, and it comes with a 5-foot bush hog. Is that a good price? Depends. The market fluctuates. Is it well kept and all that stuff? I mean, you can kind of get ballpark plus or minus a couple $1,000s, but if it's something that you want to pay for, if the guy's asking $20,000 for his tractor, and you think it's worth $20,000, then yeah, it is a good price. If you think it's not worth $20,000, then it's not a good price. So that's very subjective. But when people ask about it, I understand they're trying to get ballpark guidelines of what people are paying for that kind of stuff, because you don't want to pay $20,000 for like an 8N or a 9N. That makes no sense. It depends. Do you think it's a good deal? Then it is. If you don't think it's a good deal, then it's not. So I understand why people do it. It's just, it's hard for someone in California to tell you that it's good. It's a good price if you're asking from, Tennessee. So just keep that in mind as well. And finally, the last honorable mention is, hey, has anybody got a part number for this oil filter? Does anyone cross-reference a part number for this? I mean, cross-reference part numbers. My goodness, how many times can you get asked that question? People, there's a search function in these groups, man. It just cracks me up, because they're like, hey, I'm fixing to do my 50-hour service. Has anyone got some I want to use Napa filters. Anybody got a part number for Napas that fit my tractor? Hey, do your homework, man. It's go look in the search feature of that particular group you're in. Go to the parts house, and they got a cross-reference catalog that they can look it up there with. So it's but you see it all the time. It's every day. It's almost daily. In some of the groups. I have a lot of tractor groups, and it's almost daily. Hey, I think this is some good questions, good top 10 questions that I see a lot, and some honorable mentions in there as well. The best thing you can do to help our channel out is to watch more videos from Hank Hamilton. So please, if you got another 10 minutes or so, click on this video right here. You'll love it. It's all about tractors and stuff. God bless you guys. Take care.